Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Larson, and this workshop is the CEJA Workforce Programs Prepare to Apply for Funding workshop. We're really excited to be launching the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act workforce programs in the next few months, and excited to help organizations like the ones you are part of apply for funding to deliver these programs. My name is Linda Larson. I'm the project manager of the DCEO CEJA launch team. Today's agenda, for the first 15 minutes, I will be going over all of the CEJA workforce and contractor programs to provide a big picture. How do they work together? After that, I will be explaining some of the details of each of the CEJA workforce programs and how you can prepare to apply for funding for those programs. And then finally, after that presentation, there will be optional breakout room discussions. The purpose of these discussions is to help facilitate partnerships. Many of these programs, we anticipate teams of partners applying for funding. So we hope that you will stay afterwards and participate in those discussions. All right, today we're going to be talking about 7 different Climate and Equitable Jobs Act programs, 5 workforce programs, and 2 contractor support programs. This is a lot of programs, and I'll do my best to try to distinguish between all of the programs, but we hope that you will ask questions and that you will engage and learn more in the upcoming weeks about each of these programs. Today, while I'm presenting, we've muted you. If you do have a question, feel free to pop it in the chat. We'll do our best to answer it during the meeting, and if we don't get to it, we'll follow up with you afterwards. All right, what is the goal of the CEJA workforce programs? The CEJA workforce and support programs, the goal is to help build the clean energy workforce in Illinois. There is a lot of funding through CEJA and through the Inflation Reduction Act for clean energy projects, from solar to wind to energy efficiency and electric vehicles. So this initiative is hoping to jumpstart those clean energy jobs so that we can deliver more clean energy projects and services throughout Illinois. Clean energy employers will be hiring and supporting training program graduates, and there's an incentive for them to hire graduates because there are equity eligible contractor requirements if they want to participate in CEJA funded projects. And then the contractors and the graduates will work on clean energy projects funded by CEJA and other state and federal initiatives. So let's talk about some of these programs. Brief overview. The Clean Jobs Workforce Network program will consist of 13 hubs throughout the state to deliver clean jobs training. The goal will be to prepare people for entry-level clean energy jobs. They'll utilize standard clean energy curriculum that is being developed by DCEO. The Climate Works pre-apprenticeship program will be delivered in 3 regional hubs, and they'll be delivering a pre-apprenticeship training focused on construction basics with a clean energy focus. And the goal will be to prepare people for registered apprenticeships. Let's see. Okay. 2 of the CEJA programs will offer support to these workforce programs. The Energy Transition Navigator program will help recruit participants from target communities, conduct education and outreach, and build connections in communities with employers. The Energy Transition Barrier Reduction Program will be providing supportive services, wraparound services, and funds to eligible individuals. They'll be coordinating with the energy transition navigators and the hubs to make sure that people have access to funds and services. And then finally, one workforce program will provide training inside prisons to prepare people for jobs on the outside. The Returning Resident Clean Jobs Training Program will utilize the same Clean Jobs curriculum as will be offered in the Clean Jobs Network hubs, but it will be delivered in a prison setting. This program will require strong transition support services for when people are released and strong employer support to help place people in jobs after they finish their training. Two CEJA programs focus on providing support for clean energy contractors. We know that it's not just enough to infuse the clean energy workforce with new jobs, but to help support small businesses to be able to increase their capacity and grow and deliver energy efficiency and renewable services. The first program, the first contractor program of CEJA is the Clean Energy Contractor Incubator Program. 13 hubs will be delivering training, mentorship, and recruitment for small clean energy businesses and contractors. The Clean Energy Prime Contractor Accelerator Program will provide resources to expand capacity and fill the role of prime contractor on clean energy projects. It will be delivered in 3 regions, Northern, Central, and Southern Illinois. And then 4 of these programs that I've just introduced are based in 13 local hubs and nearby areas. There's Chicago West Side, Chicago Southwest Side, Joliet, Waukegan, Aurora, Rockford, and then Champaign, Peoria, Danville, and Decatur in Central Illinois, and Carbondale, East St. Louis, and Alton in Southern Illinois. I want to note that the hubs, the exact location of the hubs has not been determined. The organizations who apply for funding to deliver these programs will decide where the training is held, and it's targeted to specific communities. One program will be based in 3 regional hubs. The Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program will have 3 hubs, and again, the exact locations where the training will be offered is to be determined. As far as the Returning Resident Clean Jobs Program delivery areas, the locations will be determined by the Illinois Department of Corrections. They will identify facilities where Clean Jobs Training Program would be appropriate, and then organizations applying for funding to deliver the program can select from those facilities to deliver training. So what are the target populations served by the CEJA workforce programs? This is an equity-focused program, and the target populations are equity-focused populations who have historically been left out of the clean energy workforce. Primarily, the program is focused on people living in equity investment eligible communities. These are classified as environmental justice or R3 communities. The equity investment eligible community map, and I'll share my slides so you can access the link, can show you where what areas of the state are eligible for participation. You can see a good chunk of these 3 hubs in Chicago, East St. Louis, and Peoria have eligible areas throughout the city. Second, people who have been or are incarcerated and graduates of foster care system or current members are eligible to participate in the workforce programs regardless of where they live. Wanted to provide a brief overview of the funding that's available in these 7 workforce and contractor programs. The total funding is a very large amount. 94 million per year will be awarded to grantees to deliver these programs. The preliminary timeline for notice of funding opportunity rollout is as follows. We'll be starting to release notice of funding opportunities as early March, and we'll be continuing through April and May for the different workforce and contractor programs. And organizations are invited to apply to respond to the notice of funding opportunity to be selected for to manage these workforce programs. Quick reminder that I hope that you will stay on after this presentation to meet other organizations in your region and explore potential partnerships. And as I describe each of the different programs, I hope it will become obvious why we feel like partnerships are important for these programs. Want to also encourage you to stay tuned for upcoming webinars and technical assistance. There will be bidders conferences for each NOFO, details about programs, eligibility, and application requirements. There will be GATA training. There will be workshops to help you develop effective proposals. And finally, you may be eligible to receive technical grant application assistance, and we'll be sharing eligibility requirements soon. All of this information can be found on DCO's CEJA website, and we'll put that link in the chat for you in a moment. The announcement page is a good one to stay aware of the events that are coming up and the NOFOs that are released. You can also sign up on that page to receive regular updates. All right, now we're going to move into a description of each of the programs. The goal here is to provide you some details so that you can consider whether you want to apply to deliver these programs, and also to help you prepare for application, prepare for the NOFOs that are coming up. So the Clean Jobs Workforce Network program, it's going to be delivered in 13 hubs. 21 million for year 1. There will be 13 awards. Community-based organizations can apply to deliver all program elements, or they can subcontract with other entities to deliver some elements. The legislation defines community-based organizations as those that provide employment, skill development, or related services. They must have an operating office in the community or region it serves, and demonstrate relationships with local residents and other organizations. Want to also note that community colleges, nonprofits, and local governments do qualify as community-based organizations. The main program activities for the Clean Jobs Workforce Network hubs are first, to implement the Clean Jobs curriculum to train people for jobs. And this training should be supported with stipends. And the next activity is to recruit and support equity investment eligible individuals. And then finally, to develop formal partnerships with employers to ensure that program participants have priority access to hiring opportunities. So what will the training look like in the Clean Jobs Workforce Network hubs? They'll start with recruitment, moving on to assessments to identify interests in different clean energy jobs, to identify where individuals may need extra support, and to identify areas where people have already developed competency based on their experience and education. Then they'll be moved into a bridge program that will consist of job readiness training, personal effectiveness skills, basic reading, basic skills, workplace skills, And then a fourth component, clean energy basics. What we wanted to do with the clean energy basics curriculum is I outlined the skills that are required across many different clean energy jobs. What safety skills or construction skills are needed across the different clean energy fields, and can we prepare students for those jobs so that they're not just prepared for one single job, but for an array of different jobs. Then they'll move into job-specific technical training. There will be multiple options, which I'll share in just a minute. And then after that training, they'll receive some certification testing support and transition services, helping place them into jobs, and after they're in those jobs, helping aid with job retention. Throughout the program, there will be wraparound supports for trainees, and these can include stipends, childcare, tutoring, transportation, and other needs. So the Clean Energy Basics, wanted to call out a little bit of what's going to be covered in that. This will be an introduction to clean energy careers, energy and sustainability, safety basics, construction basics, electrical basics, and building energy basics. And then the job-specific technical training specialties, we've identified a handful of jobs that we are developing a curriculum framework for. And these jobs are entry-level jobs in the clean energy industry that are in high demand in Illinois, and that and in fields where we expect to see high growth. Hubs will decide on job-specific training options based on local job needs, training availability, and employer partnerships. And we recommend solar PV installer as one of the options due to very high growth, plus one or two other training options based on local needs. Oh, before I move on, want to note that this is not a comprehensive list of clean energy jobs, and this is what will be offered the first year. There may be additional jobs that are training options that are available in the years to come. Training will lead to industry recognized credentials or certifications. Here's a few examples of the credentials that people may be receiving in these job-specific training options. All right, this is just an example of the process of offering training to folks who come into these programs, starting with recruitment and assessments, moving on to the actual training, and then transition services. In this model, you can see that a main grantee is offering most of the services with some support from the Energy Transition Navigator and barrier reduction programs. DCEO strongly recommends that Maine grantees subcontract with other organizations to deliver program elements. In this model, for instance, technical job-specific training is offered by a separate training provider, such as a community college. Another community-based organization is responsible for job readiness training, and multiple organizations are helping with recruitment and assessments and transition services. So how can you prepare to apply for funding for this program? First, think about building your team. What community-based organization is best suited to lead the hub in your area? What other organizations might you partner with to provide different program elements? You'll also want to think about the job-specific training options that you would like to offer in your area. This might include researching local needs and talking to employers to identify training areas. Is there a lot of need for energy efficiency services in your area? You may want to offer energy efficiency training. And then related to that, form employer partnerships. Work with employers to coordinate work-based learning components for your training. and to facilitate job placement. After you think about the main those main planning elements, you may want to start thinking about your overall hub design. This will include your outreach and recruitment plan, application and intake, who's going to staff the hubs, how are you going to develop an equity-focused program culture, how are you going to deliver the different training elements. The NOFO will provide general guidelines for each of these different elements, but it will be up to your team to explain how you will be delivering these services. Next up is the Climate Works pre-apprenticeship program. Again, the goal of this program is to train people for and help prepare them for registered apprenticeships in the state. And we know that there are a number of clean energy jobs that use the apprenticeship model. Electricians, for instance, plumbers and carpenters would fall into that category. This will be delivered by community-based organizations. They must be nonprofit organizations that have a history of serving low-wage or low-skilled workers or individuals from economically disadvantaged communities and have experience with the construction and building trades. And as with the network hubs, community-based providers can deliver all elements themselves or subcontract with others to deliver the program. So the main program activities for the pre-apprenticeship program, the hubs will be recruiting, pre-screening and providing pre-apprenticeship skills training. This training will be offered free of charge with a stipend. They'll be preparing people for apprenticeship programs with the expected outcome that 85% of program participants will complete and at least 70% will enroll in registered apprenticeships. And then the apprentices will go on to work in clean energy jobs. The training program elements largely mirror the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program, if you are familiar with that program that's already administered by DCEO. It will include construction training, safety training, and employability training. Where it differs is in the clean energy focus. This focus could include an introduction to clean energy careers, building energy efficiency basics, electrical basics, or renewable basics. So the model here is similar to the Workforce Network program, where there will be a recruitment and pre-screening process leading to the training program, which will be supported by wraparound services, and then transition services following the training. In this particular model, the main grantee is providing all the elements, with some support from the Energy Transition Navigator and Barrier Reduction programs. But here's another model where multiple organizations provide services. In this model, there are 3 different organizations that provide different aspects of the training. And the Energy Transition Navigators are supporting with the wraparound services and recruitment and transition. Similar to the previous program, to prepare to apply for funding, we encourage you to build your team. Pick the locations where you would like to deliver. Since this will be delivered in 3 very large regions throughout Illinois, we encourage teams to consider 1 main location and several satellite locations so that it can improve accessibility for program participants. And then finally, engage employers. You can engage them to help identify the clean energy training needs for the program and to facilitate apprenticeship placement. Start thinking about overall hub design. Again, you might consider your outreach and recruitment approach, how you'll deliver the different elements of the training, how you will provide wraparound services or work-based learning components, and importantly, how to transition trainees into apprenticeship programs. Moving on to the energy transition programs. Again, these are not providing the workforce training, but they are supporting these programs with recruitment and with wraparound support. They'll be delivered in coordination with the 13 Clean Jobs Workforce Hubs and the 3 ClimateWorks pre-apprenticeship hubs. Who can apply for funding to deliver these programs? The legislation calls out community-based providers or organizations. They must be nonprofit organizations that have a history of serving low-wage or low-skilled workers or individuals from economically disadvantaged communities, and they must be located within the hub area served. Here are the main activities of the energy transition navigators. First, they'll be providing outreach and recruitment. They'll help provide outreach for the CEJA workforce programs and support for people who are applying for these programs. They'll provide small business supports to people who are interested in growing their small business. They'll provide workforce engagement, engaging with local workforce initiative boards and educational institutions to promote the workforce programs and provide information. And finally, they'll be engaging with employers and local economic development organizations to help facilitate job placement and retention services. The Energy Transition Barrier Reduction Program is focused on those wraparound supports. Supportive services could include transportation, childcare, and mental health services. A barrier reduction fund will be administered that can cover stipends, transportation costs, books and fees, and more. And they'll coordinate with the energy transition navigators and the workforce hubs to ensure access to these funds and services. Here's just a few examples of some barrier reduction services and barrier reduction services will be administered based on the needs of the trainees. So they can cover expenses related to training, technology assistance if your students need access to Wi-Fi or a laptop, childcare, family member care, driver fees. We know that a lot of these clean energy jobs require a driver's license. So fees can be used to help facilitate driver's education lessons and the cost of a new or renewed driver's license. And finally, transportation services. Public transit cards, car repairs, or gas cards would all qualify under this fund. And then the Transition Barrier Reduction Program would also refer people to other support services as needed for physical health issues, substance use, mental health, domestic violence, housing instability, or cash food assistance. So here's a brief model of how the two programs are supporting the workforce training programs, which are in the center of that circle. They'll be helping with recruitment and assessments. The Energy Transition Navigator in the darker green will be helping with recruitment and assessments on the front end, and transition services and job placement and retention on the back end. The Energy Transition Barrier Reduction Program in the lighter green will be providing wraparound services during training program delivery and through that transition period as people are getting settled into their new jobs. And again, we encourage people to consider having multiple organizations in a hub region work together to deliver program elements. So in this diagram, the different colors represent different organizations that might apply to deliver services. To prepare to apply for funding, for this particular program, it's really important to form connections with hub applicants. So the organizations who are applying for funding to manage the workforce hubs, working with them to explore how you might work together to offer these services is a really good idea. You'll want to form connections with other organizations in the target communities. Examples could include small business development centers, workforce innovation boards, educational institutions, or employers. And then start developing program design ideas. How will you recruit and support participants? How will you deliver education and outreach events to target communities? For organizations that are interested in providing the Energy Transition Barrier Reduction Program, again, it's important to form connections with the organizations who are applying to be hubs. You'll want to form connections with other organizations and target communities, especially those that are providing wraparound supports, such as mental health services or housing. And then finally, start developing those program ideas, start brainstorming ideas for how to support participants and have strong handoffs to other organizations. All right, the last of the workforce programs is the Returning Resident Clean Jobs Program. This one is unique because it is delivered at Illinois Department of Corrections facilities. And it'll be delivered by administrators, community-based organizations, and their subcontractors. So who can apply to deliver the Returning Resident Program? The legislation does call out for individuals to be program administrators, and DCO will be hiring them separately. Community-based organizations can apply to provide training and support services. They can provide all program elements or subcontract with other entities. These community-based organizations can include community colleges, nonprofits, and local governments, and they must provide employment, skill development, or related services to members of the community and have a history of serving committed persons or justice-involved persons. So what will the Returning Resident Program do? It will assist the Illinois Department of Corrections with entry into the program. This could include assessments and interviews, application support and orientation. It will teach the Clean Jobs curriculum in the prisons, and this will include job readiness, clean energy basics, and technical job-specific training. And then it will provide post-release support that will consist of connections to employers, connections to the Clean Jobs Network's hubs if people need additional training, and job coaching, financial coaching, and a strong support services component. What will the training look like? This should look familiar because it's the same training that's going to be offered in the Clean Jobs Workforce Network hubs. With a more narrowed more narrowed job-specific technical training options. The Returning Resident Training Program model in general looks the same as the other one, with application assessments and orientation. The Illinois Department of Corrections will determine eligibility. The job readiness, clean energy basics, and technical training will be offered by a training provider. And then on the outside, transition services, job placement, and post-release support. In this model, a main grantee is offering most of the services, but there's always options for organizations to partner to deliver the services. In this model, the different colors represent different organizations who provide separate aspects of the training. What can you do to prepare to apply for funding? This is going to start feeling a little repetitive. You want to build your team, collaborate with community-based organizations and training providers in your area who already offers training inside the prison, who might provide transition services, who might deliver other program elements. Develop partnerships with employers. This will be a crucial part of this program. We know that some employers are very willing to hire returning residents and others aren't. People who apply for this program need to demonstrate commitment from employers in their hub areas to place people in jobs following the training. And then stay tuned. We'll be sharing locations where the training can be delivered, and people can apply to deliver training at one of the facilities determined by the Illinois Department of Corrections. Again, thinking about program design, all of the elements that I talked about earlier, you can start developing ideas for how you will administer the program, what your technical training will look like, especially providing hands-on activities in a prison setting. What will your staffing plan look like? What will post-release support and job placement look like? All right, moving on from the workforce programs to the contractor incubator program. There may be some of you in the webinar today who are interested in providing small business services for contractors in clean energy. The contractor incubator program will be delivered at 13 local hub sites by community-based organizations and subcontractors. Community-based organizations, the legislation indicates that these organizations should be a nonprofit organization, including an accredited public college or university. They must have a history of providing business-related assistance and knowledge to help entrepreneurs start, run, and grow their businesses. They must have knowledge of construction and clean energy trades and demonstrate relationships with local residents and other organizations, and demonstrate their ability to effectively serve diverse and underrepresented populations. Some of the main activities of the contractor incubator program: recruitment and engagement with contractors will be a big part of this program, engaging with small clean energy businesses through partnerships with other entities, programs, and networks. The services that will be provided by these incubator hubs will include access to low-cost capital and low-interest loans, support for obtaining financial assurance, back office services, permits, training and certifications, business planning, mentorship and support to help contractors build their business, help connecting them to specific projects, register as approved vendors, and compete for capital and project installations. And finally, these programs will help small businesses connect to Department of Labor resources. So this is, again, a summary of what I just said, the different services that are going to be offered through this program. In this model, a main grantee is providing all of the services. And in this model, they're partnering with another organization to offer different aspects of the program. And again, the goal is to increase businesses' capacity to execute clean energy related project installations, to grow their businesses, hire workers from the workforce training programs, and deliver the CEJA funded clean energy services. To prepare to apply for funding, you'll want to build your team. So think about the community-based organization or educational entity that is best suited to manage the hubs, any partners that you want to bring into your team to offer different aspects of the program. You'll want to develop partnerships with employers and industry leaders and economic development organizations so that you can coordinate with them to recruit participants and provide services. Thinking about program design, you might start thinking about ways you could recruit small businesses or engage them. What will your staffing plan look like? How will you promote an equity-focused program culture? And how will you deliver the different services? I promise we're almost over. This is our last CEJA program. We'll be talking about the Clean Energy Primes Contractor Accelerator Program. Will be delivered in 3 delivery areas: Northern Illinois, Central Illinois, and Southern Illinois. Organizations can apply to deliver this program. They must be located within program delivery areas, have experience in leading a large contractor-based business in Illinois. They must have experience coaching and mentoring businesses, have relationships with clean energy industries, and have experience working with equity investment eligible community members, organizations, and businesses. Who can apply to receive services? Businesses with 2 or more years of experience and at least $5,000 in annual businesses are eligible to apply. These businesses must be committed to working in equity investment eligible communities and hiring equity investment eligible individuals. Some of the services that will be offered in this program include business training, planning, coaching, and mentorship, operational support grants and loans for capital for upfront project costs and pre-development funding, assistance applying for certifications and approved vendor status, assistance preparing bids and RFP applications, and connecting to Illinois Power Agency programs. So again, contractor delivery can be delivered by one organization. You can also consider partnerships, and these are the general services that will be provided. To prepare to apply for funding for this program, you'll want to consider the community-based organization or entity that is best suited to manage the program, develop partnerships with employers, industry leaders, and economic development organizations, and consider your program design. How will you promote an equity-focused program culture? How will you deliver the different services required in the program? All right, that is the end of my overview of the 7 different workforce and training programs. I know that was a lot. We'll be sharing the slides with all of you later so that you can review them. That will also be posted on the website. And if you do have questions about these programs, I'd encourage you to reach out to ceo.ceja@illinois.gov. Okay, moving back. We will be entering breakout rooms in just a minute. The purpose of these breakout rooms is to give you a chance to meet other organizations in your region, in your area, and see who might be interested in partnering. I know you may not be ready to make commitments. This is just an exploratory conversation. We hope it will be the first of many conversations with different organizations in your region. We encourage you to drop your name and contact information in the chat and set up additional conversations as you desire to work with people. We'll be asking you to introduce yourself, the organization you belong to, your areas of expertise, some of the services you offer, and if you're comfortable to share your interest in applying for funding and your interest in potential partnerships. So we have 5 different breakout rooms. We're asking people to join the breakout room that most closely aligns with where your organization operates, because these programs are regionally or locally administered. We wanted to give a chance to people to meet other organizations in their region. If you want, we know some of the organizations that you are parts of are statewide or cut across multiple regions. If you want to return to the main room to be reassigned to a different region, that is fine. We will not be returning to the main room for more presentation afterwards. After the discussion, you're free to leave. So the different breakout rooms will be as follows. We'll have one breakout room for the Chicago West Side Hub, one breakout room for Chicago Southwest Side, one breakout room for Northern Illinois, and this will include the hubs outside of Chicago, Aurora, Joliet, Waukegan, and Rockford. One breakout room in Central Illinois, and this will cover the hubs in Peoria, Decatur, Champaign, and Danville. And then the last breakout room will be in Southern Illinois, and it will include the hubs in Carbondale, East St. Louis, and Alton. And I know some of you do not operate necessarily in these exact cities. Want to note that the hubs will be serving the surrounding areas as well, not just the city where the hub is located. All right, I'm going to ask Abby to go ahead and open up the breakout rooms. What you will do is click on the breakout room button and scroll down to the very bottom, and then it will allow you to select one of the rooms to join. And again, I encourage everyone to join if they are willing to share, willing to get to know each other. You're also free to leave after this presentation if you do not want to participate.